Are You Switched On? And we welcome Phyllis from Adelaide. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. And didn't those children let their light shine? The happiness on their faces was just brilliant. How could you stay sad and miserable looking and listening to that? But yeah, are you switched on? Years ago, when my two oldest sons were in kindy, one of the sayings I often heard them use was, "Is your thinking on, Nana?" And this was a phrase that they had heard at kindy from their teacher when he or she could see that those kids were not thinking about what they were doing. And this is what the grandchildren were asking, "Are you thinking, Nana, what you're saying or doing?" And obviously it stuck with me. Those two boys are now plumbers and well into their 20s. But those two boys play soccer, as you probably understood. I go out and watch them whenever I can. And I've often commented to my daughter as we've watched the team come out and play during the first half, that the team seemed to be on the pitch physically, but not mentally. In other words, they are not switched on to the task at hand. Fortunately, most games, when they come out from the halftime break, they do appear to be switched on. Their coach, no doubt, has had a few words to them and has got them fired up and switched on to the situation. But do you ever feel that you're not switched on to the situation at hand, or the conversation that you seem to be a part of, but rather your mind is elsewhere? Many times I have found myself plugging in an appliance to the power outlet and gone to use the appliance and realised that I had not switched the power on at the outlet. What a difference it makes when we actually switch on the power. We all know Charles Fillmore distinguished 12 powers, and we've heard a lot about those 12 powers in the Unity of Melbourne, which has been fantastic. And I'm sure most of you could recite them all, but I'll just remind us. There was faith, strength, power, love, life, wisdom, which is often referred to discernment, elimination or release, imagination, zeal, will, order, and understanding. And I haven't put them in the order that we often use them in, but they're all there. But two that I have been made aware of more recently that are powers within us that we all have access to are joy and generosity. We all have that ability to express joy, as we saw those young children doing very well. We all have the ability to express generosity in our lives as well. So they are innate powers as well as the 12 that Charles Fillmore discerned. We can use any of the powers within us to enhance or diminish our experience in life. We often see the light bulb illustration used to show that someone has understood a concept or has a revelation, and that does not happen unless the individual opens their heart and mind to a new level of understanding and awareness. The illustration of the light bulb demonstrates that where there was once darkness or misunderstanding or no understanding, there is now light. But for that to happen, the power within them has had to be switched on, using not only the mind, but also the heart. So how does being switched on affect our lives? Well, for me, it shows up at the level of consciousness that I am activating in my experiences of the events at hand right now, and how I respond or react to them. When I am switched on to my higher level of awareness, I can respond. If I'm switched off, I may react. And in other words, I may not truly be conscious of the situation in the present moment, but rather I'm reliving a past event that I experienced, which was similar, but it had an effect on me in a very negative way. As I've just read that paragraph, I realised I had a most shocking night. I overindulged in glutinous food yesterday, and my body cannot tolerate that much gluten. And I've been up all night running to and from the bathroom. But coming in and sharing the space with you people this morning and seeing your happy faces, and certainly the happy faces of the children in the song, I've lifted, I've switched on to the moment. All of what I experienced through the night is gone. I'm in a much happier space right now. Thank you. So we can make that change almost immediately. And it's up to us to make that change. We don't have to stay stuck in Ain't It Awfuls. But in lesson notes that I looked at on Truth Unity website recently, I found some teaching notes in referring to Eric Butterworth's book, Discover the Power Within You. And in these teaching notes, I read this: we are forever inhibiting or perverting the true essence of our spiritual self, limiting and restricting the divine action. Paul, that's from the Bible, was concerned with this when he said, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Now, to be quite honest, I've used NRSV Bible quote there rather than the American Standard Version that Butterworth always used, because I preferred the NRSV one in that particular statement that Paul made. So when we conform to the world, we are often allowing the collective consciousness to affect our thinking instead of using the principles and laws that we learn about in unity. I don't know about you, but I do know that my early exposure to religion was that the traditional Christian church in Sunday school, where we were taught that God uses his power to punish, judge, and destroy. It was the will of God to use our lives in whatever way he chose. How wonderful it was for me to learn through unity that that was not the case. And I often wondered about that because I was taught that God is love. And I used to think, well, why would God punish if he loves me? So hearing the unity message, knowing that God is not a person out there, but rather a principle and law, and then realise that we can use those principles and laws knowingly or not to create or destroy, we can see that we are the creators of our own lives. I certainly was the creator of the discomfort I had during the night because I had eaten stuff I knew was not good for me. I had created that problem, no one else. It's in the same way mathematicians use the principles and laws of mathematics. And scientists use principles and laws too that allow them to prove theories and equations. They turn on the power of understanding and knowledge so that they can demonstrate how things work. Do they always get it right? Not the first time, no. Just as we don't get it right the first time, second time, or maybe even the 100th time. Many hours are spent by those mathematicians and scientists working with the principles and laws to prove a theory. The Unity teachings offer us a way of life, and I believe our purpose is to help and teach humanity to use and prove the eternal truth as taught by the Master Jesus. He understood and used the eternal principles and laws to prove that we are more than just a body. We are divine. This was the truth that he unleashed in himself and practiced in day-to-day living, demonstrating on numerous occasions that those principles and laws can be proved and used and truly make a difference in our lives. In order to do this, Jesus switched on the power, the energy, the understanding that he gained from many hours in prayer and meditation. Charles and Myrtle used the same methods to heal themselves, and how blessed we are that they did, and shared that knowledge with others, which has been passed down through the ages. I believe that Jesus was teaching that we all have that same power within us that he shared through his teachings and demonstrated in his life. And we need to be open and receptive and switched on to the idea and practice and use the tools that he talked about and demonstrated. Jesus knew the necessity of being switched on to the power within through prayer, meditation, in order to express the life we were meant to live. Another technique that Jesus used and developed to develop his spiritual mindedness were affirmations. And he claimed and affirmed that which he knew was true of his being by acknowledging himself to be the Son of God. He also claimed that you and I and all the people he spoke to at that time were God's too, and that we could do the things that he did. How many of us truly believe that and work to demonstrate and prove that? We really need to be switched on. Did that mean it would always be easy? I don't think so. Because even Jesus found that his human sense consciousness wanted to have its way and live in the realm of instant gratification, quick results, and reliance on the senses, no matter what the outcome or who got in the way. Excuse me. But he recognized that quickly within himself and was able to switch it around. We are often exposed, as I said before, to thoughts and feelings of the collective consciousness, which often focuses on the ancient awful. If we are around people who are not aware of the power of our thoughts and feelings and the power that they can have on our lives, our own subconscious can, without us giving it permission, take on those negative attitudes. And this is where our self-awareness and self-knowledge can be an important tool for us to cultivate. This is about noticing when our thoughts and feelings are not in alignment with the good that we desire to experience in life. And then, when we're aware, practicing the denials and affirmations, which may sometimes be referred to release and assertion. Releasing and asserting in consciousness is consciousness building and is primarily about changing our thoughts, changing our perspective, one belief, one idea at a time. Last Sunday's Daily Word said, release creates space in my life for new things. It is my way of remaining open to possibility, welcoming new opportunities and keeping myself in the flow of life. Release is an important aspect of my spiritual practice. End of quote. And we need to be switched on to know what to release. It's about switching on the power within to shine the light of understanding on the matter or situation at hand, to shine love on it as well, and moving out of the darkness and into the light to see another perspective. Eric Butterworth wrote, a person in a dark room may be bumping into obstacles everywhere as he or she fumbles for the light switch. Suddenly, he or she touches the switch and the room is flooded with light. Nothing in the room has changed. Nothing is made, added, or taken away. Yet, in a flash, it is all changed. Whereas it had been filled with menacing objects and hazardous footing, now it has become a place of comfort and utility. End of quote. Can't life be like that? Full of obstacles? Until we are switched on to the realm of possibilities and potential, we are limiting our life experience. And this could be all about plugging in to the power of the divinity within by changing our thoughts and feelings or beliefs. When we focus on positive thoughts and feelings and look constantly for all the good that happens in our lives, we attract more of the same. The same can be very true if we focus on the negative aspects of a situation. We may draw more of the same negative approaches to life into our lives. Consider worry as an example. I had a discussion about this with a friend recently. She could not see that worry got us nowhere, but let me share this quote that a colleague shared on Facebook. It says, why worry? Does it help? You are convinced that if you don't worry, then things will go awry. This is incorrect. It is helpful to think through what it may be prudent to plan for. It is prudent to take precautions to avoid that which has a high probability of causing new challenges. But beyond that, worry sets off a chain of reactions in the mind and body that keep you from the one thing that will bring you the most peace and be the most helpful. Knowing you are a part of one glorious web that has your best interests at heart. The divine intelligence flows through all things, yet worry keeps you feeling apart from this system. Fear keeps you from sensing the insights that will keep you safe and all running smoothly. Trust the intelligence that lies beneath all of your activities and see the cooperation at work and set worry aside. So, switch on to the positive. as the old song says, you've got to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, don't mess with Mr. In Between. Remember that song? So how can we be sure that we are switched on? I suggest that first we must be aware of the thoughts that we are focusing on and the feelings that are holding us in a state of powerlessness. Being and practicing self-awareness gives us the tools to switch on the power within to change our lives. Change our lives through thinking and feeling more positively about a person, about a situation, or even your own life. Focusing on the positive aspects of what we can do or have, rather than focusing on what we consider is lacking. Again, I quote Eric Butterworth from his book, In the Flow of Life. He said, "It is a simple matter of getting your lights turned on before you face any darkness in the world or in human behaviour. Get your lights turned on." Affirmative prayer, meditation, going into the silence, being aware of the thoughts and feelings, particularly those that are of a negative nature, and deny those negative thoughts and feelings any power over your life, and affirm assertively that which you choose to focus on instead. So switch on the power within you and change your life in what may seem miraculous ways, but is simply working with the laws and principles of life. It's now time for us to turn within for a few minutes of contemplative meditation. Now, I'm going to do this a little bit differently today. So I invite you to find a comfortable position. If necessary, you've been sitting for a little while, you might want to give yourself a bit of a wriggle and let your body then relax. And if it's comfortable, allow your eyes to close or simply lower your gaze, whichever feels most comfortable for you, and relax your body and let your mind also relax into this moment as you focus on the movement of your breath, the movement in, as you take in a deep breath, and the movement out as you release. Continue to focus on your breath as we now join in listening to a piece of music. And when we listen, allow yourself to open your heart and your mind to your divinity. After the 3 minutes plus of music, I will let you take a moment in the silence before leaving you in a time of gratitude and thanksgiving. Thank you, Rev.